While most of us dream of stumbling upon a 1913 Liberty Head nickel or a 1794 flowing hair dollar, the truth is that incredible treasures from much more recent decades could be worth thousands, and you might not even know you have them. I'm talking about three remarkable Roosevelt dimes that have captivated collectors and skyrocketed in value: the 1982 no mint mark, the 1987 with a stunning double die error, and the mysterious 1999 wide AM variety. These aren't ancient coins from centuries past, these are modern pieces that slipped through quality control and into circulation when many of us were already collecting. Let's explore what makes these seemingly ordinary dimes extraordinary investments. Let's start with the 1982 no mint mark Roosevelt dime, a coin that perfectly illustrates how even the smallest oversight can create a numismatic treasure. In 1982, the Philadelphia Mint was responsible for producing over 500 million dimes. These coins, made during a time of economic recession and high inflation, were meant to carry no mint mark, which was standard practice for Philadelphia minted coins until 1980. But here's where the story gets interesting. The U.S. Mint had actually changed its policy in 1980, requiring all coins, including those from Philadelphia, to bear a mint mark. However, in 1982, someone at the Philadelphia Mint made a critical error: they used dies without the required P mint mark. This oversight wasn't discovered until the coins had already entered circulation, creating one of the most significant modern mint errors. What makes identifying this error particularly challenging is that it's essentially an error of absence. You're looking for something that should be there but isn't. On a normal 1982 Roosevelt dime from Philadelphia, you would expect to find a small P mint mark just above the date on the obverse. That's the front side with Roosevelt's profile. The era coins lack this crucial identifier. To the untrained eye, it might appear to be just another dime, but to knowledgeable collectors, it's immediately recognizable as something special. The 1982 no mint mark Roosevelt dime isn't just rare because of a production error, it's rare because of timing. This error occurred during a transitional period in U.S. mint practices, making it historically significant. Experts estimate that only about 10,000 to 15,000 of these error dimes ever made it into circulation, a tiny fraction of the 500 million dimes minted that year. Now, let's talk value. If you happen to find one of these dimes in circulation today, even in moderately worn condition, you're looking at a coin worth approximately $50 to $100. That's already a substantial return on a 10-cent piece. But the value increases dramatically with condition. Uncirculated examples, coins that never saw a day of use in commerce, can fetch between $300 and $500. And for the finest known specimens, we're talking several $1,000s. In 2019, a perfectly preserved specimen graded MS-67, that's near perfect on the coin grading scale, sold at auction for an astonishing $7,050. What's particularly fascinating about the 1982 no mint mark dime is the way it challenges our perceptions of what makes a coin valuable. Unlike many prized coins that feature obvious striking errors, different designs, or rare metals, this dime is valuable precisely because of what it lacks. It's a perfect example of how context and timing can transform something ordinary into something extraordinary. The story behind how these error coins were discovered adds another layer of intrigue. The error wasn't immediately spotted by the mint, instead, it was sharp-eyed collectors who began noticing these unusual dimes in pocket change. By the time the mint became aware of the error, thousands of these dimes had already entered circulation across the country. This created a genuine treasure hunt among collectors who began scrutinizing every 1982 dime they encountered. But how can you tell if your 1982 dime is the valuable no mint mark variety? First, check the date, it must be 1982. Then, look at the obverse side, just above the date. A standard Philadelphia minted dime from this era should have a small P mint mark. If this mark is absent, you might have something special. But be careful, Denver minted dimes from 1982 have a D mint mark. What you're looking for is a 1982 dime with no mint mark at all. The condition of your coin dramatically affects its value, as with all collectibles. Numismatists use the Sheldon scale to grade coins from 1, barely identifiable, to 70, absolutely perfect. For the 1982 no-mint mark dime, coins graded MS 63, mint state 63, or higher are particularly desirable. Even minor wear can significantly impact value, which is why finding one in uncirculated condition is so exciting. What makes this coin particularly appealing to serious collectors is its accessibility combined with its rarity. Unlike many famous rare coins that cost tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars, the 1982 no-mint mark dime represents an attainable treasure, something that anyone might find with enough patience and knowledge. It's the numismatic equivalent of finding a needle in a haystack, but that needle could be worth hundreds or even thousands of times its face value. There's also something poetic about this particular era. In a way, it represents a bridge between old and new minting practices. Before 1980, Philadelphia minted coins traditionally carried no mint mark. After 1980, they were supposed to carry the P mark. The 1982 no mint mark dime exists in a curious liminal space, a modern coin that accidentally followed an older convention. This historical context adds a layer of significance that many collectors find appealing. I should mention a crucial point about authentication, too. Given the value of these coins, counterfeiting is a concern. Some unscrupulous individuals might attempt to remove the mint mark from a standard 1982 P dime. This is why professional authentication from services like PCGS, Professional Coin Grading Service, or NGC, Numismatic Guarantee Corporation, is essential before paying premium prices. These organizations have the expertise and equipment to detect such alterations. The legacy of the 1982 no-mint mark dime extends beyond its monetary value. It's become something of a legend among collectors, a modern coin that proves the hobby isn't just about ancient pieces or gold and silver treasures. It demonstrates that remarkable finds can still be made in everyday change, and that vigilance and knowledge can quite literally pay off. For those of you watching who might be thinking about building a collection around modern errors like this one, the 1982 no-mint mark dime makes an excellent centerpiece. It pairs wonderfully with other modern mint errors like the 1995 double die penny or the 2004 D Wisconsin State quarter with an extra leaf. Together, these coins tell a fascinating story about the human element in modern minting, how even in an age of advanced technology, human oversight can create rarities. What I find most compelling about the 1982 no-mint mark dime is how it embodies the essence of coin collecting, the thrill of the hunt, the joy of discovery, and the connection to a moment in history. Every time I inspect one of these coins, I'm reminded of that moment in 1982 when someone at the Philadelphia Mint made a mistake that would create a numismatic treasure, and I wonder about all the other potential treasures still waiting to be discovered in our pocket chain. Now let's fast forward to 1987 and explore our second treasure, the 1987 double die obverse Lincoln cent. While not as rare as our 1965 silver penny, this doubling error has a special place in the hearts of error coin collectors, and for good reason. The 1987 double die obverse penny came from the Denver Mint during a time when production was running at full tilt to meet the country's coin demands. What happened was a misalignment during the hubbing process. That's when the master die impresses the design onto working dies that will actually strike the coins. If the hub shifts position between impressions, you get a doubled image. And that's exactly what happened here, creating one of the most dramatic modern double dies. What makes the 1987 double die so distinct is where and how the doubling appears. Look closely at Lincoln's ear, eye, and the lettering of Liberty and In God We Trust, and you'll see unmistakable doubling. It's most pronounced on the letters, where you can see clear separation between the primary and secondary impressions. Unlike some double dies where you need a magnifying glass and perfect lighting to spot the error, this one is visible to the naked eye once you know what you're looking for. Now, I need to make an important distinction here. Every year, I get dozens of people coming into my shop convinced they've found this double die, but what they've actually found is something called machine doubling or strike doubling. That's a much more common occurrence that happens during the striking process and creates a flat, shelf-like appearance rather than the sharp, separated doubling we see on true double dies. The 1987 double die shows crisp, well-defined doubling where you can actually see space between the primary and secondary images. In terms of rarity, the 1987 D double die isn't as scarce as some other double dies like the famous 1955 or 1972, but it's still considerably rare. Experts estimate that perhaps 10,000 to 15,000 examples exist, which sounds like a lot until you consider that the Denver Mint produced over 4 billion pennies that year. So we're talking about 1 in every 300,000 or so 1987 D pennies showing this error. Let's talk value. In circulated grades, a 1987 D double die might sell for $200 to $500, depending on the strength of the doubling and overall condition. But the price climbs significantly for uncirculated specimens. An MS-63 red example can bring $600 to $800, while an MS-65 red might command $1,200 to $1,800. The finest examples, those graded MS-67 red or higher, have sold for $3,000 to $5,000 at auction. In 2018, a PCGS MS-67 Plus red example set a record when it sold for $6,600. What's particularly exciting about this penny is that it's still being discovered by roll hunters and circulation finds. Just last year, I heard from a collector in Texas who found one while searching through rolls from his credit union. He'd been looking for wheat cents and Indian head pennies, never expecting to find a modern rarity worth hundreds of dollars. There's an interesting story about how this variety was first discovered. It wasn't actually identified until 1989, 2 years after the coins were struck and released. A collector in Colorado noticed the unusual doubling while sorting through pocket change and sent it to a major error variety expert for verification. Once authenticated, news spread through the numismatic community, and suddenly everyone was checking their 1987 pennies. This created what we call in the hobby a roll searching boom. Banks across the country reported shortages of penny rolls as collectors bought them up searching for the double die. It was similar to what happened with the 1955 double die but on a smaller scale. Some dealers even capitalized on the excitement by selling unsearched rolls of 1987 D cents at premium prices. The condition factor for the 1987 double die is particularly interesting because of how these coins entered the market. Since they weren't discovered until they'd been in circulation for 2 years, many had already sustained wear and handling damage. Finding one in pristine mint state condition is challenging. The copper-plated zinc composition used for these cents is also notoriously prone to spots and discoloration, making high-grade red specimens especially desirable. Grading companies like PCGS and NGC distinguish between 3 color designations for copper coins: brown, BN, red-brown, RB, and red, RD. A 1987 double die with full red color will command a significant premium over one that has toned to red-brown or brown. An MS-65 red example might be worth 3 times as much as an MS-65 brown of the same coin. One thing I find fascinating about double dies like this is how they connect us to the minting process. These aren't just random mistakes, they're artifacts of a specific moment in production when something went slightly wrong in a process that normally runs with remarkable precision. When you hold a 1987 double die, you're holding evidence of that moment. I've noticed an interesting trend with these coins over the past decade. As third-party grading has become more prevalent and the population reports more accurate, we've seen prices stabilize and even increase for the highest grade examples. Meanwhile, more affordable circulated specimens have made this an accessible error for beginning collectors. Here's something not everyone knows about the 1987 double die: there are actually different stages of the doubling. As the working die struck more and more coins, the doubling effect gradually diminished. Early stage examples show stronger, more pronounced doubling and typically command higher prices. If you're in the market for one of these, it's worth educating yourself about these stages or consulting with an expert who can help you evaluate the strength of the doubling. Speaking of expertise, counterfeit 1987 double dies have unfortunately appeared on the market in recent years, particularly from overseas sellers. These counterfeits often show doubling that's too exaggerated or appears in areas where the genuine coins don't show doubling. If you're looking to purchase one, especially online, I strongly recommend buying only authenticated examples from reputable dealers or those certified by PCGS, NGC, ANAX, or ICG. I remember one collector who built an entire set of double die cents, from the famous 1955 to modern examples. He told me the 1987 D was actually one of his favorites, not because it was the most valuable, but because it was the one he'd found himself as a young collector. That discovery had ignited his passion for error coins and led to a lifelong hobby. That's the magic of coins like these. They're not just valuable metal discs, they're gateways to a fascinating hobby and tangible connections to our monetary history. For those of you wondering if you might have one of these double dies, here's my advice: get a 5x or 10x magnifier and check your 1987 D cents, focusing specifically on the word Liberty. If you see clear separation in the letters, particularly the B and E, you might have something special. And remember, it has to be a Denver mint penny with the little D mint mark. The Philadelphia coins from 1987 don't have this particular doubling variety. One last interesting note about the 1987 double die: it's part of what many numismatists consider the last classic era of significant mint errors. As the U.S. Mint modernized its production processes throughout the 1990s and into the 2000s, major varieties like dramatic double dies became increasingly rare. Computer-aided design and digital manufacturing techniques have made such errors less common, giving the older specimens like our 1987 double die a special place in the pantheon of mint errors. Let's complete our journey through modern Roosevelt dime rarities with perhaps the most enigmatic of the three, the 1999 White AM Roosevelt dime. This coin represents something quite different from our previous examples. Rather than an obvious error or omission, this is what numismatists call a transitional design variety, a coin that features design elements from a different year than intended. And the story behind it showcases how even the smallest design modifications can create tremendous value in the right circumstances. To truly appreciate what makes the 1999 White AM dime special, we need to look closely at Roosevelt dimes from the late 1990s. In 1996, the U.S. Mint made a subtle but deliberate change to the reverse, that's the tails side, of the Roosevelt dime. They modified the positioning of the letters A and M in the word America. Before this change, the letters had a noticeable space between them, what we now call the White AM variety. After 1996, the letters were positioned closer together, creating what collectors refer to as the close AM variety. This design change wasn't random, it was part of a broader refinement of design elements across multiple denominations. Similar adjustments were made to the lettering on quarters and half dollars around the same time. These were intentional modifications meant to improve the clarity and aesthetics of the designs, not errors or accidents. Here's where things get interesting. In 1999, Roosevelt dimes were supposed to be struck exclusively with the close AM design that had been standard since 1996. However, somehow, reverse dies with the earlier wide AM configuration were mistakenly used to strike an unknown number of 1999 Philadelphia dimes. This created the rare 1999 Wide AM variety, coins that feature a design element that should have been retired 3 years earlier. The most distinctive identifying feature is right there in the name, the spacing between the A and M in America on the reverse. On the rare Wide AM variety, there's a noticeable gap between these letters. If you place a standard 1999 dime next to a Wide AM variety, the difference becomes apparent, though you may need magnification to spot it with complete confidence. There are other subtle differences as well. The serifs on the letters are slightly different, and the positioning of the E in United relative to the torch is also distinctive on the Wide AM variety. What makes the 1999 wide AM dime particularly fascinating is how long it flew under the radar. While the similar wide AM varieties in pennies had been recognized and cataloged earlier, the dime variety wasn't widely known until around 2002, when collectors began to take notice and document examples. By that point, these coins had been in circulation for several years, making high-grade specimens exceptionally difficult to find. The rarity of the 1999 wide AM dime cannot be overstated. Numismatic experts estimate that perhaps only 1,500 examples exist across all grades, making it the rarest of our three featured coins today. When you consider that over 1.4 billion dimes were minted in Philadelphia in 1999, the extreme scarcity of this variety becomes clear. We're talking about true numismatic needles in a haystack. This exceptional rarity is reflected in the market values. Even in circulated condition, a certified 1999 wide AM dime typically sells for $400 to $700. Uncirculated examples start around $1,200 and quickly escalate from there. For the highest grades, MS 66 and above, prices have reached truly impressive levels. In 2019, a PCGS MS 67 Plus example sold for an astonishing $10,800, over 100,000 times its face value. That's an extraordinary return for a coin that was meant to be worth just 10 cents. What I find most compelling about the 1999 wide AM dime is the story it tells about modern minting processes. How exactly did reverse dies with an obsolete design pattern end up being used in 1999? The most plausible explanation involves the complex logistics of die preparation and storage at the U.S. Mint. Dies are typically prepared in advance of the year they'll be used, and it's possible that some wide AM reverse dies prepared years earlier were inadvertently mixed in with the current production dies. Whatever the exact cause, the result was a rare transitional variety that has become one of the most sought-after modern dimes. The hunt for these wide AM dimes has taken on almost legendary status among collectors of modern varieties. There are stories of dedicated numismatists searching through thousands of 1999 dimes, examining each reverse under magnification, hoping to spot that telltale wide spacing between the A and M. It's meticulous, time-consuming work, but the potential reward makes it worthwhile for many. The 1999 wide AM dime also perfectly illustrates an important point about modern numismatics. Sometimes the most valuable coins don't look obviously special to the casual observer. There are no dramatic errors here, no missing elements or doubled features that immediately catch the eye. The difference is subtle, a matter of millimeters in the spacing of two letters. Yet that small distinction can mean the difference between a coin worth 10 cents and one worth thousands of dollars. Authentication is absolutely critical with the 1999 wide AM dime. The differences are subtle enough that definitive identification really requires expertise, proper lighting, and magnification. And given the substantial value gap between the standard and wide AM varieties, misidentifications, both innocent and deliberate, do occur. Professional grading from PCGS or NGC provides the certainty that collectors need when dealing with such a valuable modern variety. There's a fascinating parallel between the 1999 wide AM dime and certain classic American rarities. Just as the famous 1909 SVDB Lincoln cent resulted from a design transition, the addition and subsequent removal of the designer's initials, the 1999 wide AM dime emerged from a transition between design subtypes. Both coins gained their rarity and value from being caught in these transitional moments in U.S. coinage history. When I think about the cultural context of the 1999 wide AM dime, I'm reminded that this was the year before the new millennium. America was riding the dot-com boom, smartphones didn't exist yet, and the biggest concern for many was the looming Y2K computer bug. As people worried about potential technological disruptions, these rare dimes were quietly entering circulation, unrecognized treasures that would only be discovered years later. For collectors who assemble date sets of Roosevelt dimes, the 1999 wide AM represents a particularly challenging acquisition. Unlike more obvious varieties that might receive immediate attention, this one requires specific knowledge and careful examination. Many collectors who believe they have complete sets of Roosevelt dimes are actually missing this crucial variety, making it what we sometimes call a stoppers for comprehensive collections. What all three of today's featured dimes share is their status as modern treasures, coins produced within many of our lifetimes that have, through various circumstances, become rare and valuable collectibles. They remind us that numismatic history isn't just about ancient coins or classic 19th century issues, it's still being written today, with new discoveries and newly appreciated varieties emerging regularly. Whether you're a seasoned collector or someone who's just beginning to explore the fascinating world of coin collecting, these three dimes represent something special, tangible pieces of American history that tell stories of human error, technological transition, and the enduring appeal of small treasures that can fit in the palm of your hand. So before you dismiss that jar of loose change as just everyday money, remember, sometimes extraordinary value hides in the most ordinary places. Until next time, keep searching, stay curious, and happy collecting.